everybody, welcome back, and we're going to cover another Greek myth, and this time we're going to do another Perseus myth. Now, if you haven't seen the other video yet, that's fine. This could be your first Perseus myth. It doesn't matter which one you do or which one you cover first. As long as you get familiar with multiple versions of each myth, you're just expanding your knowledge base and filling in any gaps that different versions sometimes create. So this particular version is subtitled Perseus, the ill-fated hero. So what might that mean? Not really sure. Ill-fated hero. I mean, it can only be good, right? Okay, sorry. Enough cartoonishness here. Let's try to be serious and let's take this into the realm of serious study, shall we? Let's do it then. Okay, now we'll get serious. Perseus, the ill-fated hero. The wife of Acrisius, king of the city of Argos, gave birth to a beautiful daughter, Danae. But what the king wanted was a son. So he traveled to the temple at Delphi, where the priestess told reliable prophecies. She was the most revered oracle of all Greece. The oracle said not only would Acrisius never father a son, but that the son of his daughter would kill him. If you've read Oedipus, this setup sounds familiar, does it not? Anyway, Acrisius wouldn't harm the girl for fear of retribution from the gods. So he promptly had a bronze home built for her underground with an opening to the sky for air and light. Hour after hour, day after day, year after year, the poor prisoner sat on the ground of that opening with her face turned to the heavens. She became a lover of sunlight and moonlight, of wind and rain. Zeus spied the sweetheart face and instantly sensed what would delight her most, and so came to her as a golden downpour. Soon Danae had a son, Perseus. Acrisius again moved promptly. He put daughter and babe into a wooden box and set them to sea. Seriously. Does that seem like a good way to avoid your fate? Not sure it is. Danae wrapped her beloved son in her cloak and bade him sleep, sleep. She cooed her mouth to his ear as the wild waters rocked them, and her wild heart cried, "Please let no hideous watery creature slither up from underneath and snatch them, or open wide its gigantic jaws and swallow them." The box washed ashore on the island Seriphos, where a fisherman took care of them and raised the boy. Perseus grew strong, but he never lost his sense of wariness. His mother and he had survived his grandfather's perfidy, but the world was dangerous. He trod forth, courageous, yes, but with eyes darting on the lookout. He was always looking for things. His grandfather was, they survived his perfidy. Betrayal. Over the years, the king of the island, Polydectes, fell in love with Danae, but she refused him. She was like, "It's not happening." Perseus, adult now, sensed something dishonorable in the man, so he protected his mother from the king's advances. Yeah, doesn't sound good, does it? Polydectes felt affronted. What? Perseus dared to thwart a king? In the selfish tradition so common of kings, he chose to simply get rid of the youth, just as King Acrisius had. He threw a party to which guests were supposed to bring horses as gifts, so that he could, he said, use them as a proper marriage offer in his quest for the hand of another young woman who tamed horses. Perseus was delighted that Polydectes would marry and thus leave his mother alone. He promised Polydectes any gift he wanted, even the head of the Gorgon Medusa, wife of the sea god Poseidon. The rash words came out of nowhere, but there they were, glittering in the air, and Polydectes grabbed them with triumph. Oh, not good, not good, not good. Medusa had serpents for hair, and anyone who looked upon her instantly turned to stone. As far as Polydectes was concerned, Perseus was history. But Perseus was Zeus's son, and two of his siblings came to his rescue. First was the goddess Athena. She told Perseus that three nymphs, the Hesperides, had the weapons to kill Medusa. But to find out where the Hesperides were, Perseus had to ask the three Graeae. The Graeae were sisters of Medusa. They had been born as old women, with but a single eye and a single tooth to share among them. Perseus hid and watched them huddling like three huge gray birds. Ugh. It was like, as one woman passed the eye and tooth to another, he snatched both and demanded they lead him to the garden of the Hesperides. It was a terrible ransom. Their sister would die if they answered. They would deprive themselves of sight and food if they didn't. The Graeae led him there, and Perseus gave back the eye and tooth. The Hesperides lent Perseus three things: the winged sandals like those of the god Hermes so that he could fly, the helmet of invisibility that had belonged to the god, the book says Poseidon, but it's actually Hades, the god Hades, and a wallet that could contain anything without getting larger. You think of it kind of like a bag of holding. To these, Athena added a bronze shield so bright it reflected like a mirror. And now the god Hermes finally joined the quest. He gave Perseus an adamantine sickle. Perseus, newly invisible and armed, flew to the cave where Medusa slept with her two sisters. He stood over them in their sleep and held the polished shield up by his shoulder so that he could look into it to see their reflection. Never had he imagined such ugliness. Their serpent hair coiled around them, making their whole bodies seem scaly. Long, sharp, porcine tusks protruded from their lower jaws. Gold wings sprouted from their backs, and their hands were bronze. The god Poseidon called Medusa his jewel, yet how he could bear being near her was beyond Perseus. Guess he didn't have love in his eyes when he looked upon her. With one powerful slice, the youth cut off Medusa's head. From her neck sprang full grown the children that Poseidon had fathered. One was Pegasus, a winged horse who eventually made his way to Olympus. The other was Chrysaor, a huge warrior with a gold sword who became the king of all Iberia. Perseus allowed the two to flee as he put Medusa's head into the wallet, then flew away. The two Gorgon sisters of Medusa cried out. They wanted to give chase, but Perseus was invisible. He flew over water along the north coast of Africa, heading home, when he saw a maiden and tried. Saw, he flew over water along the north coast of Africa, heading home, when he saw a maiden tied to a rock jutting out of the sea. Perseus flew to her, and she told him her story. Andromeda was the daughter of King Cepheus and his bride, Cassiopeia, both of whom loved to walk along the shore and show off how handsome they were. But Cassiopeia lacked sense. She boasted that her beauty surpassed that of the sea nymphs, the Nereids. Gods and goddesses took challenges even less well than human royalty did. The Nereids complained to the sea god Poseidon, who sent a tsunami and a monstrous hungry whale to ravage the land. But King Cepheus had heard the prophecy that calamity could be avoided if he sacrificed his daughter to the whale. So there she was, Andromeda, quaking on the boulder. Her eyes burned as they scanned the horizon for her coming death. Now, this is the term whale here is most likely being used as, what would you say? Not our traditional sense of a whale, but probably more like a monster. The winds whipped the girl's hair so that it seemed to fly around her. Her bottom lip trembled. Her fingers curled around each other, bluish in fear. Her heart thumped so hard. Perseus heard it, and his heart beat even harder. Saving this pretty maid from being eaten would be even better than saving his mother from the nasty king. And here came the whale. But it wasn't a whale at all. It was a giant, scaly serpent rising on a tide taller than the tallest tree. The monster seemed born of the nightmares the babe Perseus had seen in that wooden box at the mercy of the terrifying sea. But he could do this. Perseus told King Cepheus he would kill the sea monster if the king would give his daughter to him in marriage. The king agreed, of course, and Perseus slew the dragon, whose dying cry deafened the sea birds as far as one could see, and whose blood turned the entire ocean red. At long last, Perseus found his way home and turned to stone King Polydectes and the friends he'd gathered around him. Then he gave Medusa's head to Athena, who attached it to the center of her shield, and he gave the winged sandals, the helmet of invisibility, and the now empty wallet to Hermes to return to the Hesperides as promised. Eventually, Perseus, Andromeda, and Perseus's mother Danae decided to go to Argos to see Danae's parents. But when Danae's father Acrisius heard they were coming, he snuck away to the land of the Pelasgians. As luck would have it, the king was there hosting an athletic contest, and he invited Perseus to take part. In the competition, Perseus threw his discus, and it hit Acrisius in the foot, killing him instantly. Pure accident. Ill-fated Perseus had unwittingly fulfilled the oracle's prediction. Not really sure it would have hit him in the foot, though. I got a feeling it's probably going to hit him in the head to kill him, right? I mean, just doesn't make sense to be having it hit him in the foot. Well, there's our second version of the myth, or first, depending on which order you watch these in.